Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
And we are just 3 weeks away from Halloween Horror Nights 33. 333. It is creeping up on us faster than you can imagine. And we got a couple little updates to talk about. Nothing major on this episode. It might be a little bit of a shorter one because we are in the midst of getting our pre-recorded 1 week till Halloween Horror Nights Podathon going. So we're trying to space everything out a little bit, but we got a final announcement. We got house tours. We got some more props being put up. We have some spoilers being shown everywhere. So we're going to do a little house cleaning before we get going into the Podathon and before we get into Horror Night season. So like I said, we've had a lot of announcements already. So we're not really waiting for stuff other than like food and drink, which I'm sure will come at some point, and that'll be something we discuss on a future episode, I'm sure, and maybe I'll give you a little hint as to when. But let's get into the beer real quick. I did finally make a trip because I was getting very low. I made a trip to Half Barrel Beer Project, and I picked up a couple fun ones. I don't know if I've had this. I should really track my beers on Untapped besides just looking at them, because I just searched them and that's it. I never track if I've had them or not. But this one is called Thrills That Kill. It's from Drecker Brewing. It's a little IPA, a little 6%er. Really cool can art, like psychedelic tiger looking thing. I don't know. I just thought it looked pretty cool, and I don't know. I was jonesing for an IPA.
But I always go for the can art.
Yeah, Drecker is from Fargo, North Dakota, and they say that this is a crazy soft hazy IPA collab with Seven Island Brewery. It is brewed with the hop trio of Netricon Cryo, Aurora, and HBC 586, and leaves notes of mango, guava, lime, yuzu, and a little hoppy punch on your taste buds. Dangerously delicious. Well, let's see. That's a lot of hype right there.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I'm going to crack mine open. Oh, I got that. Ooh, I got a strong, like, IPA right off the nose from the can without even having to go near it, so let's see what we got. This definitely looks hazy, but I'm happy because that's kind of the IPAs I was hoping for. I didn't really want a crazy, bitter ridiculousness, but we'll see. All right, so is anybody else drinking anything? What we got? Am I running slow? What we got here?
I'm just killing werewolves like I usually do.
Okay, all right, we got a little something in the mix. All right, let's get into what I think was maybe the first stuff to kind of be quote-unquote announced throughout the week, and that is the Unmasking the Horror tours and their house selection. So thanks to the folks over at the RIP tour, our homies over there. They have been calling in because I listened to their pod as well, and they are always talking about how Gary's always talking about how he's been calling the Universal hotline to be like, what houses are on the tour? Like, I have one booked, but like, I want to do another one. Like, what are we? They start soon. I mean, this comes out the 9th, so they start on the 12th. So like, they're cutting it pretty close. They've usually announced that. So they finally got a hold of somebody, and they were told the following houses. So for the 6-house Unmasking the Horror tour, you'll be able to visit Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Insidious the Further, Goblin's Feast, Monsters of Latin America, Major Sweets Candy Factory, and Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. So a pretty solid lineup. However, I feel like the heavy hitters are on the 3-house tour. those are the ones that intrigue me the most. So the Three House tour, by process of elimination, because we were told that A Quiet Place will not be on the tours. So the Three House lineup is Triplets of Terror, Slaughter Cinema 2, and the Museum Deadly Exhibits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. You would think they would have reserved one of the IPs for the Three House and then moved one of those others over to the 6. I know it would leave it with what? That would be 5 originals and 1 IP then.
It
Or
is interesting
2
that they're
IPs and
not
4.
breaking up the IPs.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a little weird.
Because you got the 2, you have Ghostbusters and Insidious, and then you have Monsters, which kind of falls in between the 2.
Right.
So
But you think they would have stuck Monsters with the Three House and then maybe put like Museum or Triplets on the 6?
that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like I feel like that's an easy one to swap in and out, where it's like still IP, still original. But it's interesting that they chose those 3 to be revealed early. So for me, that kind of is them showing their hand a little bit, saying that these are probably the most ready and kind of most tuned up, and they think that that's like their bread and butter right there, because you're showing both of the sprung tents, which were the older ones. So those were already kind of put up versus the new ones, which is going to be, I think Goblin's Feast and Universal Monsters are in the back in the brand new tents. So they didn't have to worry about constructing those, because those went up not too long ago, versus the sprung tents. They probably started construction much earlier. And then Triplets is up in one of the sound stages, wherever Yeti was last year, I think it was. Yeti was on the right side. So I think that's where Triplets is going to end up being. So interesting. I'm hyped for these tours. We still have yet to book ours. We'll get on that at some point.
Yeah, we haven't booked those
I was
yet.
thinking about that too.
I am always nervous they'll sell out, but like they haven't yet. But with this year being kind of a little funkier, maybe, I don't know if, I don't think that the need is there yet. I don't know if people love these tours as much as we do. Like it's not like it has park admission attached to it. So
it's definitely, I think it's more locals that do it, but I feel like there is a certain select group of people that come in out of state, book like a trip, and they do at least one of the days they're doing a rip tour.
Yeah.
So I think, not rip tour, I'm sorry, behind the scenes.
The unmasking. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that some people do, but it definitely tends to be more local than anything else, which is fine. I mean, most people don't have the time when they're here on vacation to stop and do a tour. And like we've said before, it's definitely not a necessary thing. It's more one of those things that if you're really into the event and you've been coming year after year and you really want to get more out of it, it's worth the money. For whatever it is, ends up being like a couple $100, I think, for the 6 House. It's worth doing it.
I think it's worth it too.
Cattail up my nose, but but yeah, I think it's worth it.
We always have a good time doing it. I really like them, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited for these. I'm definitely more excited for the Three House, just because I really want to see those. But Major Suites. Yeah, because I really want to get into Slaughter. I'm curious about the Museum, and Triplets is probably going to have a lot of really fun.
I do want to see Triplets and Slaughter. I wish they would switch a couple out, because I could care less about Museum right now, but we'll see.
I think end up doing both, but
I think for me this year I have to do both. I think last year I didn't do both. I think this year I have to do both because of the 3 that they stuck in the 3. The last couple, it's been, I wouldn't mind seeing them, but I'm not heartbroken that they're not in the 6. But this year, I feel like the 3, at least one of them, I think should have been on the 6, and then one of the other ones shot over for the 3. That's usually how they do it. They usually put at least one IP on the 3 House tour, so it kind of makes you want to do both. Mm-hmm. But maybe they planned on all of the IPs being able to tour, and they were planning on maybe sticking one of those originals off to the side, or maybe even doing a 4 House tour instead of a 3 House. I don't know.
That's what I'm curious about, is like why they're always so set on 9 and like just being like, we're definitely not showing you one of these. Now, like I get for some reasons, maybe some IPs, I feel like every year
there's always at least one IP that isn't there usually like always one IP that kind of says you can't you
Yeah.
can't tour this one because of whatever reason.
Yeah, which like for certain houses I get. So like A Quiet Place, right? For instance, my thoughts on it is we don't really want to show what the light's on because it doesn't truly portray what the house does as a house, because I think they're going to
Right.
rely a lot on puppetry
Yeah,
and
maybe.
sound and lighting. And with the lights on, there's no sound. Like you just lose a lot of it. But I can't imagine every year being like, no, there's always one house we don't do. Like I feel like there could be years where maybe 10 was viable. Like why not just add it? and do
Yeah,
a
I don't know.
house?
And I feel like I'm of the opinion that they should rotate the houses. So like, you know, for the first week, the 6 houses are this and the 3 houses is this. The next week we rotate 1 or 2 of them out of each and put the others in the other. So that way at least people maybe have a chance to say like, all right, well, I don't want to do both tours, but I want to see this house, but I'd rather do a 6 than a 3. So the 3rd week or the 4th week is going to allow us to do the 6 with these houses. This is a combination that I want to do. I'm surprised they don't do that, but maybe the logistics for the tour guides would make too much. It'd be too hard to come up with like a tour program or a tour plan if they did that. So maybe that's what it is. But I just figured they kind of knew everything about all the houses. So like, you could just do that. But I don't know. I guess maybe not.
I kind of wish almost, just because we've done both in the past, and the 6 house, like as much as I like it, once I get to like the second to last house, I'm kind of like, I kind of wish it was just 3 different 3 house tours.
Yeah, me too.
Versus,
or at least 4,
that's actually
maybe
a
3
good
and 4.
point.
It is a long.
You would
it's
think
an early morning and a long day.
it is a pretty long day. It's a lot of walking, especially considering that we do the tour and then we plan on coming back for the event later that night. So like it's like
5 hours later.
It's like, let's go home and like chill for like an hour and take a nap, but then you end up not napping and watching football and going back to
Yep.
So we're kind of a glutton for punishment, to be honest with you. It's our own fault, but you're right. It definitely does feel like a long day when you do the 6 house. So plus for them, you would think that they'd make more money. Like we could do a 6 house for $220 or whatever it is, $200. I don't even think it's 200. I think it's like 180, isn't it? Something like that, or something. It's not even like it's barely 200 if it's 200. You would think that like split it up and do 3, 3, and 3, and we're going to charge you 150 for each of them. We make more money, but
yeah,
I guess maybe they know that would come off as kind of scummy, and that's why they don't do it. But
I prefer it, honestly.
Yeah, and I think some people would. I think maybe we would, but not necessarily everybody. I think some people want to get more value, and they feel like if we want to offer you a half a day option or a full day option, and it kind of gives you the option to do one or the other. That's why I wish if they keep it this way, they would rotate the houses, so people don't feel like they have to do a 3 and a 6 to get all of them, or if they only want to do a 3, but there's only 3 specific houses that they care about. At least they can plan to say, well, we're going to do this 3 house tour because it's going to show us the houses that we want to see. So I don't know. Not that they'd ever do it. I just think that might be a better eventual thing to do, but who knows?
Yeah. So that's really all we got for the tours. I'm excited. Again, if you've listened to us before, we've sung the praises of these tours many times. So if you are new here, Unmasking the Horror Tour is 100% worth it. I know maybe if you're from out of town and you're crunched for time, like you might not be thinking about doing a daytime tour, but it is worth it 120%, because you truly get to understand the stories of these houses just a little bit more, and it does make that experience more enjoyable, I'd say. But
I would
say any final thoughts on the tours?
Yeah, I would just compare it to like a behind the scenes Disney tour. If you're one of those people that are like really into the event, like someone that's like really into Disney, like you've done Disney a million times and you wanted something new to do and you haven't done like a tour, that's something you typically recommend somebody. So for like Horror Nights, you've done Horror Nights every single year, or maybe every other year, or you just come so often that you've done it a million times and you're looking for something a little different and you haven't done a behind the scenes tour because maybe you were afraid it ruins the experience, or you were afraid that it doesn't quite give you what you think it's going to give you. I will say that as long as you don't do it before the event, which I think people are going to ruin it for themselves in the next couple of weeks, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. If you do it after doing the event at least once and seeing everything with lights on, or with show on, or whatever you want to call it, it gives you a new appreciation or a better appreciation for a lot of the houses. And even for me, like there might be houses that I'm not super hyped about I'm not super into when I first do it. But after doing the tour, I kind of appreciate what went into it. Like with Dragons last year, like I'm not a Dragons fan, and everybody knows I wasn't a Dragons fan. But after doing the tour, at least I had a bigger appreciation for why people like it and why people were super pumped about it, because of all the story that went into it, because of the ride and the story at the queue, and learning all of that, learning all those elements kind of helped me appreciate it for what it was, even if I wasn't super into it.
So let's move along now to kind of park updates. There's been a bunch of stuff put out now, more props than you could imagine in the Swamp of the Undead. We have some food booths that are finally up. We have smoke stacks from Major Sweets Candy Factory. So I guess we'll run through the props in the scare zones a little bit. Like we said, Blumhouse has been adding stuff, which we'll get to in a moment because it's officially Blumhouse, but they've added things. They've added like lockers with a little, I think it's like a wolf head or something. We posted about it, but it's
the beaver head or the chipmunk head, I think.
Yeah, the beaver from Freaky. I think that was like the mascot. There's also been little graffitied metal garbage cans that have been spray painted with, the number 33. One of them says Purge on it, so that leads me to believe Purge will be there. There's also a little black phone hung up. I wonder what that could possibly be. But there's been little set pieces here and there. So it does seem that, I don't know if they're going to be fully staged, but I do think there's going to be people in front of those areas. Like you don't want the guests going up to the black phone and ripping it off. Like that's going to happen. So I'd imagine that they're going to constantly have like a grabber there, kind of guarding it, I guess, for better or worse. Too. But so Blumhouse getting some props. And we also have Swamp of the Undead, which is just getting filled to the absolute brim with randomness. There's rocking chairs, there's shingles, there's barrels, there's wooden door shingles, there's planks and plywood, there's gators, there's like a river boat I saw with like a big fan, kind of like the thing from that Bobby Boucher rides, airboat, thing that Bobby Boucher rides on into the game, the game at the end of the movie The Waterboy. So that thing is getting absolutely loaded. Every time I see it, I'm like, they can't put more in here, can they? Like there's no more room, right? And then
it's gonna be tight.
And then there's just like, oh yeah, this is here. It's like, okay. And then we also have some stuff over at the Ye Olde Torture Fair. So it looks like the stage is sort of set up. We have that big what is it called, Seamus? The Iron Maiden? That like thing you get locked in.
Did I not see this picture?
Maybe, but it was.
Yeah. So you're talking about So yes, I think this is what's called the Iron Maiden with the spikes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the exact name or maybe I'm thinking of something completely different, but I think that's the Iron Maiden. Right. From what I know, like from what I know about world history or medieval history, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, so I think maybe this wasn't real. There was something that they would stick you in that was super uncomfortable and you couldn't really move because they were like prods or spikes or whatever, but like it didn't like, they didn't impale anybody in it. It was kind of one of those things where you're kind of like stuck there. And if you move, you'd poke, you'd stab yourself. So that was kind of like one of those torture elements where it's like, you're kind of stuck in a dark enclosed place. And if you move, you might, you'll end yourself if you move. So I think that's what it's called, but I think that's called the Iron Maiden. And I could be completely wrong. And someone's like, no, it's this. And you're probably right. So let us know if we're wrong or if I'm wrong, let me know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, but it is going to be, I mean, I think I am pretty interested in this scare zone the more I see pictures of it.
Yeah. So that's up on stage now. The stage has some little brickwork. It looks like it's got the big banner at the top. It has spots for where we assume the chairs of the Queen and King or whatever royalty.
Yes, I wonder if we'll get like some show elements like the king and queen are like condemning somebody to death and like or condemning someone to torture and making them. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this.
I think so. And there's also little booths that have been put up. I think we discussed it last week, but they kind of look like the Vamp 69 booths. So they'll probably have some little character in there doing his thing. And I think that's all for Scare Zone props, but they're definitely coming along. Every day there's something new. Our buddy HHN Danny is always finding some new stuff going on in the parks and helping us out get pictures. So
I'm jealous.
We are grateful for that because do not have time. And like I've said before, I'm going to see the pictures, obviously, like we post them, but like I kind of like seeing them in person for the first time with the lights off, but that's just me. Food booths have gone up. We have two Ghostbusters themed ones, I believe, because we have Ivan's New York City Deli and Grocery. It looks like a little graffiti style New York with icicles all over it. And then we have what looks like maybe the fire station that looks frozen over, or it just could be a building of sorts. So that's there.
It might be the fire station.
Yeah. There's also an Insidious booth that has a red door on it. It just says Insidious. And then on the side, they added some stuff to it. And then there's also a medieval. Is that what it says? Face your demons?
Oh, I think it says face your demons. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. Go ahead.
And then there's another medievally themed one over in that little like island that connects Hogwarts area to Simpsons, like on that bridge. There's a little food booth over there. And I think there was another one put out today, but I've kind of sparingly been on socials now because I saw that some spoilery stuff is out there, and we'll kind of discuss that at the end, but their stuff is out there now about some of the stuff in the houses, and I am trying to avoid it. So all the news that we're talking about food booth wise and prop wise might be a little dated because I have not wanted to really scroll around on social media anymore because of all this. So food booths, that's exciting. We're
have they released menus yet? No, right?
No.
So we're seemingly a step away. I think they'll finish putting these booths up because it does feel like they just pop them up overnight. So they're probably building them at least backstage.
They literally
somewhere
pop up.
They just wheel them in and
they do like overnight.
Pop them up overnight because I was there on Monday and they literally went up on Tuesday. I always miss it by a day whenever something pops up new. Never fails.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
So it's crazy.
You know, we're closing in.
I'm excited for the food menus. I feel like I always look forward to seeing the food and the drinks.
Yeah, same. And then I did mention quickly, but you can see the 2 smokestacks from Major Sweets over in that.
I did see that.
Fast and the Furious area. So you can start to see that facade entrance, which is kind of interesting. I'm trying to conceptualize in my head how we enter this house now, because that'll be different, I believe. Because when we entered it in previous years, it was through the Fast and the Furious queue, and all you had was like that little wall. But it doesn't seem like we're entering there. It seems like we're entering it in the tents itself and not in the queue line anymore. So I'm curious where that line is going to bring us. But that's that. So let's get into the official announcement, that big mysterious Scare Zone over in San Francisco with the big BH logo and the big Blumhouse banner. We couldn't possibly figure out what that thing was without the announcement coming from Universal Orlando.
Yeah, it was an A24 Scare Zone. Can you believe it?
Yeah, right. They're doing the Lighthouse. They're doing Hereditary.
Yeah, they're doing the Lighthouse. Yep.
But we got the announcement finally. It says, run a terrifying gauntlet of Blumhouse characters, from the Grabber to Megan dancing into your nightmares. This is a new kind of horror. And if you look at the picture, we do have idea now of at least 4 of the characters that we will see. One being the Grabber, another being Megan, one being the killer from Freaky, which the Butcher, I think was his name.
I think.
And then the little baby thing from Happy Death Day, which Jamie was not too happy I had on the TV the other day because I wanted to watch it for a little bit, and then
I said, "What are you watching?" He looks at me, doesn't answer for a minute. Happy Death Day.
And then you kind of you showed your hand. I don't think you've seen it. You just
I have not seen it. I do just hate it.
Sound like me. I just hate stuff.
I've never seen it all the way through. I've watched part of it, but I've never actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I gotta
That's
do
how
that.
I am with Midsummer too. I still haven't watched it.
Oh,
I'm on a
missing out,
streak now,
Jamie.
so I can't watch. I don't know, Seamus. I don't know.
Oh, you guys are killing me. Absolutely.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I just don't like it.
I know you've seen it. We saw it together.
Yeah. But so we have those 4 characters that are nailed down for Enter the Blumhouse. I am a little bit surprised from the Butcher, because I think we were all sort of in agreement that we thought the Catherine Newton character was going to be there versus the weird little popcorn kernel mask that he's got going on, the not so Jason Voorhees mask. But I think we kind of said all of these besides him would probably for sure be in here, and we discussed at length last week a bunch of characters we thought would be in here. So any surprises? Does this kind of excite you any more or less, or
It
doesn't.
surprises. Go ahead, Seamus. Sorry.
No. You start. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it surprised me that they're kind of like showcasing Megan as like the big draw. So I'm not sure if she's going to have maybe. I was thinking it was kind of going to be like the flash mob pop up dances against maybe in the scare zone, but it seems like she's going to be in the zone, like the main kind of star.
Maybe I'm not sold on that yet. I think they're probably just pushing her out front because everyone liked the flash mob so much.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's still going to be, she's not going to be out there permanently. She's going to come out and do her dance thing and go back. I don't think they're going to stick her in a zone, like in an area. And I'm not convinced that each of them are going to have their own little station. I still think they're going to be walking around different Blumhouse sets and kind of like doing what they did with what's it called last year, the Shipyard one, where they kind of just walked around in different sets and stuff. I think that's what that's going to be.
I hope
and I'm not completely convinced that it's just those 4 characters. I think we're still going to get other characters.
Yeah.
We'll still get a Catherine Newton. She'll be there. I think we'll probably get maybe even like, is it Danny? What is the kid's name in Black Phone? Danny, Timmy, Lonnie, whatever those. One of those.
Finney.
Yeah. So I think we'll probably get like maybe an actor dressed like him. And you'll have some of those side characters, and I think we might still get like some surprise characters I think maybe Bagul shows up. I still think I'm still holding out hope that he's going to be there.
Me too, Seamus. Me too.
Yeah, because you can't run with just these 4.
No,
I don't. Yeah, and I agree. I don't think you can.
But how you guys are saying that you think it's going to be, or how you were saying, Seamus, you think it's going to be more than just the stages, kind of like stagnant characters. I would hope so, because especially with like the grabber or something, if they have different like variants of him walking around with the different masks or like stuff like that, or like one of them with the balloons or something, or so we'll see. I'm excited for the scare zone. I always like the stuff. And the compilations.
I'm pleasantly optimistic. I think it'll be pretty good. It'll be better than Crypt TV, I think. And not to say that I hated Crypt TV, but I think that the shining elements of that scare zone were the characters, and that was it. So like if that's all this is, okay, I can live with it, but I think they need to like be a little more, everything kind of needs to work together instead of just being, here's the grabber, and then oh no, here's the butcher, and oh no, here's the baby mask killer from Death Day or whatever. So I don't know, but I still think it's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. Before we get into the last little things before we wrap up, I feel like we should just, because they've been dropping a lot of stuff, we should just quickly run through some of the Hollywood stuff that's been announced as well. And like we said, we don't mention it that much, but I guess when like official announcements come out, we should at least acknowledge it a little bit to an extent.
Because I think we have people that listen to us that do go to Hollywood. I think we've still got fans of Hollywood on here, so we definitely want to keep you guys included. And it's one of those things that the 3 of us definitely want to do one day. Like I think it's in our bucket lists to do a trip to LA and do the Hollywood event. Like I need to do that at some point in my life.
I need to do it.
I do need to do it. And
I love it.
It's not even so much to see certain houses. It's just to say, hey, we checked it out. Cause I'd love to check out the Japan and or Singapore event too.
Oh yeah.
I think those would be fun to do at some point.
That's
be
like
a dream
bucket list.
to be able to do
super cool.
those 2 parks. Or is it Hong Kong? It's Singapore or Hong Kong. I forget which one it is.
It's Singapore. I'd like to get to.
I think it's Singapore. Yeah.
It is Singapore.
So one of the announcements they went through was a Scare Zone announcement called Skull Lords with a Z.
With a Z.
With a Z. And it is All hail the royal court of the undead, where Gothic kings and queens reign. Beware. Cross into their spectral kingdom at your own peril. And the logo's got this cool little, like, skull with a crown on it. It can't tell if the crown's part of the skull or whatnot, but it seems very vague, but it also seems like it's a little bit medievally.
I like it. Sounds cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's tough to comment on stuff that we're not going to see and maybe don't have a frame of reference for exactly, but it does seem interesting. Like at least it's not just like, I mean, it could just be like skeletons. Like they're taking that next step to be like, okay, it's this undead
skeletons.
kingdom of king and queen. So
yeah,
kind of torture fairy mixed with skeletons versus doing just the random people. So interesting. I don't know if that's something that jumps off the page to me and like I'm like, ooh, I need to see this. I'm like compared to like the luchadors, monstros, like that one
they put up
to me. I'd love to see that one.
Some stuff in the scare zones for out there too for that, and it looks super cool, like kind of like the posters for some of the characters.
Mm-hmm. All right. Horror Nights then went on to announce a show announcement, The Purge: Dangerous Waters. So this is a show that they've done in the past. They have, I forget the name of the lagoon, but they got like a little lagoon
Water
stunt
World?
show kind of thing. Yeah, Water World, where they've done this in the past, but this one's described as this fiery stunt spectacular puts you in the world of the Purge like you've never seen it before. On water. Dangerous water. No, they didn't say that part, but I
was going to say, is that what it said?
No. But it is on water.
It's the Purge on ice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I was picturing.
But yeah, from what I've seen pictures in the past and videos in the past, it's pretty cool. Like they have like neon light jet ski style stuff and they're like whipping around and pretty much just a stunt spectacular water world show, but overlaid with a Purge
with the Purge
theme.
people.
So fun, like way to use something in your park that's not necessarily horror.
It's cool.
And giving it that facelift, which would be kind of fun to see. We always talk about other shows and stuff like that. That's something I wish that we would bring over to Orlando and do in the Bourne show. Like use that stage and technology for some sort of horror show because you can fit a lot of people in there and the AC is always pumping. So like, I feel like you can just come up with a video screen choreography for that and do some sort of little Halloween stunt show or whatever, which could be fun.
It's not a bad idea.
The big announcement. We'll save that. We'll do one more announcement, then we'll get to the big Hollywood announcement. The other one is the Terror Tram announcement, which is Enter the Blumhouse. So sort of our scare zone, but transplanted onto
as a
their
tram.
Terror Tram.
Cool.
And it is terrifying. Terrifying Blumhouse characters have taken over the Terror Tram, face the murderous android Megan, the Grabber, and more. Now, on their little logo, they have all the same characters, the same four: Happy Death Day, Freaky, Megan, Grabber. But they also have this other guy, which I don't know.
I could not figure out who it was. You couldn't either? I couldn't either.
No.
I was staring at it like all day today.
An original character or not, but Seamus, do you have any idea what that is? It's like a medical kind of thing with like...
I'd have to look at it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. If you're watching on YouTube, who is this man? Lost. Put him on a wanted poster.
Blumhouse, the Terror Tram? That's what they call it?
Yeah, Terror Tram, Enter the Blumhouse. I don't know. It almost looks like Hostel-ish, but I know that's not a Blumhouse thing. That might just be... I might be showing our lack of Hollywood knowledge. Maybe that's a Hollywood character, but I honestly couldn't tell you. And even somebody posts on Twitter like, "Who's the character in the back left?" Like, I do not know. But again, Terror Tram, a fun way to include like extra into your event when you might not have as much size for as many sound stages and tents that Orlando has. Another fun little overlay of something that they've done in the past, which is interesting. I'm curious to see how they pull this off. I think it'd be fun because then you can actually go through different sets and stage setups versus the Blumhouse Scare Zone where everything's just kind of on top of each other. This you can kind of like segue from one set to another set to another set and so forth. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the Terror Tram more than the Scare Zone. But what would you prefer if you had to pick one of those?
That's one of the main aspects that have always made me want to go to Hollywood. I think the Terror Tram is such a cool thing. I would love to do it. I think it's fun that it gets to go on the back lot. You still get to see some of the like behind the scenes, like cool, like old movie stuff incorporated with Horror Nights. I mean, that's just so much fun. You get to go to like the Bates Motel and like pass by the Psycho House, I think, on it. I'm not sure how far deep it goes, but personally, I would like to have that better than it as a scare zone. I feel like it could be more interactive and they have more space to work with the Terror Tram versus the small area in San Francisco that we have.
Yeah, it's kind of like a haunted hayride, essentially.
Yeah.
Only no hay, just a
No
tram.
hay. And they let you get off for a little bit too, and then I think you hop back on and go back or whatever. So that's fun too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's get into the big announcement. Haunted house announcement. The Weeknd Nightmare Trilogy. The Weeknd returns in a new haunted house spawned from After Hours, Dawn FM, and a horrifying new tale. Get ensnared by the most iconic moments inspired by his music videos and live performances. So from the description, it doesn't sound too different than the house that we got, other than the fact that they're including Dawn FM. I'm not the biggest Weeknd. Again, I don't have the most knowledge about him, so I don't know if all the songs, I think it was all from After Hours, because it was After Hours Nightmare, I believe. I don't know if they included anything else from his catalog in there, but it's
I think
interesting.
it was all from After Hours.
Is it? Yeah, because I was curious because I figured if they were going to do another Weeknd house, I figured they would skip going to After Hours again and they would just do like Dawn FM, but maybe that doesn't have as much stuff to pull into a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if his vibe shifted from album. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if he has
I feel like he always has a lot of. I don't listen to him too much, but like his older stuff, he has a lot of different vibes. So yeah.
So bummed that this isn't
too.
coming to Orlando.
Kind of bummed in the sense that we're not really getting a like musical house. Like I thought it was fun when the Weeknd house was here. Honestly, I know a lot of people were kind of hating on it.
Pretty divided.
I think it was pretty divided, but I think it was overall pretty fun. Like it still had like I got some good scares in the house, like the wallpaper characters. I knew they were there. They still got me. I love that. I always think that's such a fun scare. And then when you're kind of walking through the bathroom scene, and they had some of the big like lizard like Weeknd characters that would come down, they got me a couple times too. Overall, I thought it was a fun house, and I love the music aspect, like incorporated it, just blasting through the house and in the line. It makes it go by quick. It's fun. So I think it'll be a cool addition for them.
Weeknd.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with it. The more I feel like the further apart I am from that house, the more I hold it in a higher regard. I do kind of wish we can go back and see it, but Seamus, I know you kind of stood up.
And I hated on
it
to begin with. I did.
And it surprised me. You stood up for the Weeknd a little bit. Would you have wanted to see this house on the East Coast side?
Probably not, just because it was so recent. Like I feel like if they did that, I feel like they would. It really would have been. It would have felt like a reach. Like we need something because we know this year's week or something like that, or we couldn't do a whole lot. So hey, guess what? Bringing the Weeknd back. I think that I'd rather it just kind of stand on its own and let Hollywood have their own version of it. Because Hollywood didn't get it the first year they did it, right? I don't think it was just Orlando.
I think they had. Yeah, they had. No, they had it.
Yeah, it was a dual coast. Yep, dual coast.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I don't know.
They had the cool bar too, the After Hour Nightmares bar, or it was more a little bit bigger setup for them. But
I mean, it would have been nice. I mean, personally, to see it because I liked it, but like I can understand why they wouldn't necessarily bring it back. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm like overwhelmed with grief because of it. So.
Right. All right. Well, that was Fear and Beer Talks Hollywood. We don't really do that too much, but that's really what
I can't find this character, this guy with the welding mask.
It's got to be some sort of original Hollywood.
Find this if I can figure it out.
I was reading comments, and I think someone said that it was one of the Purge characters from the newest Purge movie that came out.
Oh, maybe. That would make sense because Purge is kind of mixed with a whole bunch of different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be Forever Purge, I guess.
Forever. That's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that one. I might miss.
I don't think I have either.
I think I bought it. I have it somewhere on Blu-ray. I think I just never opened it up. That was one of my weird, like, I'm going to buy 7 movies at once, splurge, and not open half of them. Yeah, I'm sure at some point I'll want to watch it. But
Mhm.
all right. So other than that, we don't really have other concrete news or stuff to talk about. All I have is to kind of warn people, stay very vigilant on Twitter and Instagram, because I forget what it was, maybe USA Weekly or something like that. Somebody ran an article going into the Slaughter Cinema House, and pictures of the house are out there, which I don't know why they felt the need to do an article on an original house and put pictures out there. And I know people are kind of like, oh, well,
They could get in trouble for that, I feel like. I'm
no,
surprised
well,
that was
I think it was an official article. I mean, obviously, it's
Universal
okay.
would have
They
told
got the
them it was
pictures
fine.
from it. Yeah.
I was going to say, I would assume they'd be allowed to. Was it like drawings of the house of the insides of the room, or like they actually went inside and took like pictures of the house?
Actual pictures of the house.
Oh,
so they were
wow.
like
I didn't see
professional
it. Huh.
pictures. Yeah.
Eh.
So I
Well, good
I
thing I
saw
didn't.
like somebody tweet out of it, and I saw the pictures like small, so I didn't see. I just kind of scrolled up there, but
Right.
be
You're
careful,
like,
because
no,
we kind of
no.
all we all saw this coming with the whole unmasking the horror tour starting on the 12th. People are gonna try to be the first person to post this stuff, and like, you know, we post stuff that's in the park, we post stuff that's visible, but I will not post anything that's spoilery, and I'm staying kind of clear. And I put it on Twitter today that if we're not as active, like, we're posting our stuff, but that's it. Like, I'm not really scrolling through feeds until the event starts. Like, I'm trying to kind of stay away from spoilers as much as I can. So we'll post our stuff and we'll kind of react to our comments and stuff like that. But as far as like interacting and searching around on the feeds, like, not probably going to be happening for the next couple of weeks until we get there, because I don't want to see that stuff. And if you want to, that's fine. It's out there. You can find it. And if you do want to feel the need to post it, make sure that you're tagging it as a spoiler, because Twitter does have that option. You can like have a spoiler image over it, so somebody has to click the spoiler button to reveal the image. So like, at least have the decency to do that, because if you're just like throwing it out there, like, that's just not super cool. I don't like that. So just be clear of, or steer clear of certain social media, because it's out there, and it's exactly what we thought was going to happen when they announced these tours being early, which I firmly stand is not a good idea. I just do not like it. If you're going to do them, that's fine, but I don't like it. And there's going to be people that aren't responsible, you know, and most people will hopefully be responsible, but you know, there's going to be the handful of people that aren't responsible with that knowledge and stuff. So, so just be careful. Horror movies of the week. What did we get into this week? I kind of dove into the Insidious franchise a little bit myself.
We did watch Insidious a little bit.
I watched
that's all I really
Insidious
watched.
2 and 3 to kind of get hyped up.
I forgot how much I liked the second one and the third one. I really like the
What
third one.
about-
I've seen that one a couple times, actually.
Because I think there's only one of them on Netflix right now.
I think Nick.
That's the
either Nick
newest
got
one,
this
the Red
or-
Door. I have the
Yeah.
DVDs.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know
you
if
do?
they're streaming
Okay.
The
anywhere, but
trilogy.
I have the DVDs. Yeah, 3 gets a lot of hate, and I kind of like it.
Three,
I know
did you
it's-
end up? I like it a lot.
I've seen
With
it
the
plenty
girl,
of times.
Gwen?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it plenty of times. I like it.
I haven't seen
think
the
it has a
second one
weak
often.
ending. Yeah, I think it has a pretty weak ending, but I think it's shot significantly better than the second one. The second one is kind of shoddy camera work. I don't know. It just felt rushed. It felt like a rushed, successful sequel. So I don't know. I really do like the franchise as a whole. I know they're not for everyone, but that's like kind of one of my horror go-tos. Like, I love slashers and I love that paranormal kind of stuff, which that's kind of bends the line of paranormal and like demonic possession style movies. So I kind of like that stuff. That's where I sort of lean, but that's what I got into this week. But Seamus, you watch anything?
I finished Lovecraft Country, which, again, without going into too much detail, it's
Mhm.
worth watching, especially if you like gore or if you happen to be a fan of Lovecraft or turning things around in a certain way, in a new way. That's a pretty good show. And then I also went back and watched the Amityville Horror remake from 2006 with Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds?
With Ryan
Yeah, I
Reynolds?
saw Deadpool, and I was like, you know what? I'm on a Reynolds kick right now, and it's as bad as I remember it being. But I did forget that the little girl is Chloe Grace Moretz. So if you recognize her in anything, like, she was in the Carrie remake not that long ago. She's been in a few different things horror related. I forgot
like
that she
her.
was in this, so
Yeah.
it was funny.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up for this week. Next week, we're going to do a strictly call-in HHN33 episode. So we're going to need your help. So please call in. The number is 689-244-0956. We'll be posting this on our social media throughout the week because we're going to try and do a full call-in episode. We've done these in the past, and they're very, very fun. And we also need like a filler in between our 1 week till HHN Podathon because we have all of our episodes finalized. We are in the midst of organizing and recording those as we speak. So we need something to kind of fill the gap. And this is, I feel like, the perfect send-off before we get into that is to kind of hear from everybody out there. So if you have any like questions or anything like that, call us in and let us know. So again, that number is 689-244-0956. We'll post it on social media, but call in, leave us a message asking us about anything you want about 33. Our hype list, that's like what everyone does generally ask about. That will be part of our 1 week till HHN Podathon. And we will probably be releasing the schedule of that on next week's episode. Next week's episode, I will go through the rundown of every single episode that we're going to be going through, and you can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be talking about for 8 days straight. So hopefully you're not sick of us yet because we ain't going nowhere. We're going to fill that void of that last week for you. Because if you're ever itching for some HHN stuff, that last week is it's a tough week. It's a very, very like drawn out, slow week. So we're here for you. But until then, that's all I got. Does anybody have anything else before we sign off of this thing?
Nope,
3
just
weeks.
Getting excited.
3 weeks. That's crazy.
It's coming up very quick. But
Very quick.
until next time, this is Nick.
This is Seamus.
And this is Jamie.
Happy Haunts.
Cursed. To the death cursed.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.